Hello everyone, welcome back in LWC course. And today in the day 11, we are going to talk about constructor, the one of the method of life cycle hooks. In the previous episodes, we have talked about the life cycle hooks in the format of introduction, where we have understood how these methods flow. I mean the constructor, then the connected callback, then the child constructor fires, and so on. Why the lifecycle hooks are considered as a JavaScript callbacks, how we can prove it, and we also understood the JavaScript callbacks and many other topics. Now, in the today episode, from the day 11 onwards, we are going to deep dive in each method, where I will be also, covering the interview questions, the possible interview questions, the errors, best practices, etc., etc. Now, since we are starting with the constructor, so let's understand what is, the constructor in LWC lifecycle hook and how it works. If you are not familiar with the OOPS concept by any chance, so don't worry, I am starting with the very basic, and I'm sure that by the end of this episode, you will understand the constructor topic very, very easy format. I mean, you will be mastering the constructor method in a very easy format of explanation with a practical approach. So, to save the time, I have created one class. This is an Apex class, which which you can see here. And the class name is the demo constructor. Now, why I am, explaining you, because I know that, the few of our friends are not familiar with the constructor. So, this is the important part to understand and then move into the LWC. So as you can see, this is the class, the demo constructor, and we have the two variables which I have declared. One is of the string type, another one is of the integer type. And the at line number 8, this is the constructor. Constructor means that, what is the class name? That is the demo constructor. We have a method. You can see here, this is the method here. Okay. So we have a method with the same name of class, but no return type. As you can see, I have a return type here as void. There can be, the different return types based on your business requirement. Can be string, can be list, etc., etc. Right? So the constructor will never ever will have a return type. Okay, and let me save this because I made a change. And the purpose of, the starting from here is to show you that as the definition says in a OOPS concept, whenever you will create an instance of the class, the very first method will automatically will be invoked, will be fired, will be triggered, is known as constructor. After that, the process starts. So one thing is that when you create an instance of the class, instance creation, let me show you. So I am doing an instance creation. Now forget about this thing. Okay. Keep, the I at line number 24. So this is instance creation. Okay. Now, as we know that as we will create the instance of the class. Now this is, the instance creation of the class. I'm just executing. You can see here, execute highlighted. Go in your, log will open. See here. Debug at line number 9, that is at the rate, demo constructor. And line number 12, you are, again at line number 12 is this, where you are assigning, the value to variable a and to I, and then you are printing in a debug log. Okay. So welcome in the LW series. Today is day 11. Okay. So constructor means that whenever your class instance is getting created, the very first method will be fired automatically is known as constructor. How you will identify the constructor? That is with the name of that the method will be with the name of the class. Will not have any return type. Okay. Now, what is the requirement? Why we require constructor? See, the constructor means that as instance will be will be created, uh, the constructor will fire, and the property of the constructor is to initialize value, which we are doing here. Okay, all right. Now let me show you just to the so we have created an instance here. Now after that instance, we have if we have to call any method, then we have to write like this. See, okay. The in the oops concept, the purpose of the creating this class to just to to give you the demonstration, just to make you understand the concept of the constructor. I hope you are clear with it. Okay, I'm repeating once again, and then we will quickly move to the LWC. Constructor means a method which will automatically trigger, automatically will fire, automatically will execute as we will create the instance of the class. Instance creation means, okay, this is a instance creation, right? So like here you have to call a method, but constructor is automatically firing. You are nowhere the calling your constructor. You just created your instance, and your constructor invoked, your constructor fired, right? Constructor will never ever have the return type. The requirement of the constructor is to make sure that the as instance will be created, all the value the variable will be initialized with the value, with the updated values. Okay. Okay, don't worry, this code I will put in a GitHub repository. As you know, I am putting every code for you in the GitHub repository. Now coming to the life cycle hook constructor. Okay, so that's the same thing. The constructor will be fired once component instance will be created. Okay. Remember one thing, in any of the life cycle hook, you talk about the constructor, you talk about the connected callback, you talk about, the render callback, you talk about the disconnected callback, you talk about the error callback. Error callback, you have to use, so, we'll show you the example. But in any of, the other methods of the lifecycle hooks, uh, you need not to write it down, or you need not to the write in your code until and unless you want some logic to write. I will explain you how. Okay, but what I'm trying to say is, just for example, okay, one second please. Or for your easiness, let me create one LWC component. Life cycle. So, I mean, the question which, obviously you should have in your mind, and I will, answer it before you ask me. So let's say, I mean, I am typing here as hi, and this is a very simple, I mean, thing which we have understood how to work with the HTML in a, very first episodes. Okay, so this is how, I mean, I am just preparing my component for the deployment. And let me deploy this. Okay, let me go here and use it. So, I mean, the explanation which I am going to give you right now is a very important explanation because, I mean, the people, I mean, the just some, I mean, read and they don't understand. So let me, I mean, they give you that to see the latest update, Control Shift R. So as you can see, I mean, we have high here. Now, the one question which you should have in your mind is that Prashant, you said that, I mean, the instance creation, whenever we are creating the instance of the class, then the constructor will be invoked, then the constructor will be triggered automatically. So as you are saying that, I mean, the constructor will be fired once the component instance will be created. Now, how we are creating the instance? I mean, if I compare, so class name cn equals to new class. Okay, Prashant, you taught us this. I mean, the class name, and then, I mean, you give the, I mean, the any, I mean, the instance name, and then, I mean, the new class name, and this is how, I mean, the instance creation is happening, right? Now, how, I mean, in LWC, the instance will be created. So let me tell you, when I say, I mean, this, so as you can see, I mean, the page will load. Okay, the page will load, your component will load. Okay, at the time of the loading of the component, the instance creation of your LWC component will take place. So constructor will be fired once component instance will be created, that is on load of the component. Okay, easy now. Now, since, I mean, this is the very first phase, your component is, I mean, the loading. Many things are pending. I mean, the DOM insertion is pending, rendering, I mean, is pending. You may not see this output. So, I mean, the very first stage I'm telling you, I mean, even before, I mean, you are seeing this output, just, I mean, your component is loading. Okay. So that at that particular phase, your constructor will be fired. Okay. Now there's an interview question that what is equals to the in aura component we have the init. Okay. So what is equals to init in LWC? So that is your constructor. Okay. This is the interview question as well. So now, I mean, let's see how this works. So we have, I mean, the very simple component available here. Okay. Which is, right now only have the high here and the JS. Now the point is, as your component loaded, the constructor fired. but you haven't, they wrote anywhere here in the constructor. So as I told you, any of the LWC component which you need not to write it down until and unless you want to write some logic in the constructor. So until I need to write down any logic, okay? Until I need to write down any logic, I need not to the write constructor, because that is happening in the back end. It's already happening in the back end. You you need not to write it down here, and and you need not to mention any the method name of the lifecycle hook until and unless you need to write a logic inside that. You need to write some the business logic inside that method. You need to the execute that method inside it. Until and unless you need not to write it down, because that is already happening in the back end. Okay, so let's say, because I need to give you the demonstration. So let's say I want to you know write some logic in the constructor. Okay, so very easy, very simple. Okay, let me give you some example. So I'm giving you the very simple example. So, properties, because we have already, the discussed, learned about the properties. So I'm creating one property here. Okay. And in the constructor, I will be assigning the value. Now, the very first thing which, whenever you are using the constructor, you have to write super method. Sorry. Now, what is a super method? This, I will be explaining you in a, the next example. Soon after this, I will be taking the next example, which will, give you the clear understanding of the super method. So the first step is super method. Now, you have to, assign some value to the property so that you can use it. This property, you are using here to see the output. Okay. Okay. Let me deploy. Meanwhile, so I'm just repeating again that until and unless you need to write some logic inside the constructor method, you need not to, write it down constructor. That means that you need not to write constructor as a blank. No, there is no need. There is no need of writing the, the constructor. If you want some, some logic of yours, okay? If you need to write some logic, if your business requirement is something which need to be executed inside the constructor or any other, the life cycle hook method, then only use that method. Okay. So since we are talking about the constructor, remember, no business logic you need to write inside the constructor, then you need not to write the constructor, because that will automatically will invoke in the backend. If you have some business logic to be, to be written inside the constructor, then write it down. Okay. If you are writing the constructor, the first, very first step will be super method. What is super method? You know, I am giving you just, the explanation in the, the next example, which I am taking in this episode. So let's see, the if everything is sorry, if everything is fine as per our expectation or not. Control Shift R. See, okay. So assignment done, right? Now let me, before moving to the super method, let me tell you that the constructor, we understood that how the constructor instance will be created, and once the component instance will be created, automatically it will be invoked, and this is equals to the auras init, auras init method. Okay. Now what is the purpose of the constructor? Purpose of the constructor is that it will check whether the properties have the updated value or not. In case if the properties are not updated, constructor will update. Okay, as you can see in this particular the flow chart. So the public property pending to be updated, constructor pending property, public property pending to be updated. Yes, so update the public property value. Okay, okay, all right. Now let's understand that the what is the use of the super method. Okay, so I am the before I give you the theoretical, let me the tell you super means what just to understand, just to remember, super means what? Senior, right? A super senior, right? So super method means the uh, this is actually used to call the parent class constructor from your child components class constructor. Okay, this is how inheritance work, right? So let me do one thing. We have a demo life cycle hook component available. Let me create one more for you, and let's name it as a parent. Okay. Okay. And the as you can see, the the class name is the parent component. Now you will see some magic in this example. In HTML, I am not doing anything, keeping very simple for you, so that you can understand the purpose of the super method, and you will say, Prashant, wow. Okay, so I am just creating one API enabled. So since we haven't discussed about the API, so don't bother about it. It's just like making your property public. Public means you can use it even outside your component. Okay. I'm just initializing as well. Okay. One public property, that is the parent property, and you have the value here. Okay. Now just to the give you that whether the constructor fired or not. Super method console.log, and let me display like parent component constructor. Okay, with this you will understand that okay, this is the constructor of this particular component. Okay, all right. Change in this. Okay, let me deploy this. Simple, nothing we have done so far, you know. So we have created one public property. The parent comp, the parent component which we are considering is with the name with the name is parent component. Public property we have here, and that is, the holding a value that is hello, I am from parent component. Just to showcase that yes, the parent component fired. Okay. What I'm going, I have provided a console log here. Remember this, I am just explaining you this, the super method, what is why we are using this super method. Okay. Now coming back, because we had deployed this. Now coming back, into the child one. Okay. And let me, the create one property as child property. Okay. And this is from child. Clear? So, just one more addition in the child component, child property. This is from the child, which is holding up, the value. This is from child. And constructor we are using super method. And, we are, whatever, we want to do, we can do it, right? You can also put a console log to see here. Clear? Okay. Now, remember what I told you. Super method means what? Super method means is to call the parent class constructor from child components class constructor. Okay. What is the purpose? The purpose is that this ensure that the parent class is properly initialized even before the child class add its own properties. Get your point? What I'm trying to say? Super method purpose is to call the parent parent components class constructor. Parent components class constructor, which is the class parent component. Class name parent component. Okay. So this is my child, this is my parent. I am using the super here. So what will, this super will do? This super will call my parent components class, which is the class, this one I'm highlighting here. See here, right? Constructor. Okay. One thing. Why? What's the benefit of, the calling the parent component class constructor? The benefit is that this constructor, inside, inside your child component, will ensure that the parent class is properly initialized. Okay, right? Even before your child class adds its own property. Okay. Now, one thing I, need to make a change here. Now, because this is my parent, this is my, this is my, the child. I told you, I explained you this line, right? What this line means at line number 1. LWC is a module, lightning element is a class. Okay. Now, lightning element class is actually, the is from the LWC module, which is LW, sorry, the lightning element class is inherited by the demo lifecycle hook class. You getting my point? Right? Confusing? Let me explain you again. This line I told you in the very first, 1 or 2 episode, that this line means that LWC is a module, lightning element is a class. So we are importing this class from this module. Okay. And this class, lightning element, is this is a parent class. This class is a parent class of our component class. So, demo lifecycle hook is actually inheriting lightning element. Now, because my parent component is, this one, parent component is parent component, right? So I will not be going with this thing because I have to, the inherit this particular class, which is I am highlighting. So let me show you how. This example will show you, the demonstration how to use super, as well as how to, the make a parent class, right? Parent component, the if you want to inherit, or if you want to, the call the, the parent component inside your, or no, I'm wrong. So what I'm trying to say is this example will, they will show you that how to, use a super, one thing. Also, how you can, the uh, inherit the properties of your parent class inside your child component. Okay. So what I have to do is I have to make a change. Now, class name I will copy and I will replace. Okay. Now, inside this C comma, sorry, C slash, and what is, the my parent component name. Okay. Easy. Now, after that, again a change because I have to inherit this class. Any confusion till here? Then please let me know. No confusion? Okay. Now I have, the one is the child property and the another property is the parent property. So I have to use this, right? Let me. I will explain you. In case, this is confusing because this is something, the everyone talks about the, you have to write the super method, you have to write super method, but we also have to understand that why, and how we can utilize it. So I'm just, I'm trying to give you the explanation of this. And don't worry, I will, I will show you. You, we have the output, bro. So see here, very interesting, see from parent. Hello, I am from parent component. See, hello, I am from parent component. Which see this component, you're using, this component you're using is which one? Demo lifecycle. The child component, right? In your child component, you are actually, the showing the property of your parent component, right? And then, the child property, you know, this is your from child component. right? Now let me explain you one more time. So, I mean the or let me, I mean give you the the quick revision once again before we proceed further. So you understood the constructor, why we use constructor, how we, I mean the what is the meaning of the constructor? That is, we have seen in our Apex example, right? The instance creation, and then when we create the instance, automatically our the constructor will be triggered. After I mean that, then we move to the LWC. Okay, that how this constructor method will be invoked automatically in the backend when our components and the instance will be created. So components instance creation will be will took place when we will load the component, right? That is the that is why it is equals to aura init method. Why? What is the I mean the requirement of the constructor? The constructor requirement is to make sure that the all the properties which we have in the component should be updated with the latest value. In case they are not updated, constructor will update it. Okay. One more thing which I told you, that any of the method, it can be the constructor, it can be connected callback, the I mean the read under callback, any of the callback, you need not to write in your component until and unless you have some business logic to be written inside that particular method. Okay. The if you are using the I mean the constructor, then you have to, the very first line is I mean you have to use the super method. Why super method? Super method ensures that I mean you are calling the parent class constructor from the child class constructor. Okay. From the child class constructor, you are calling the parent class constructor. So what you are actually doing is you are actually, calling this constructor, the parent class constructor from your, the child class. Okay. In this example, when we are understanding the super, okay, we also understood that how, I mean, if in case, I mean, you have the requirement where you have to utilize, the public properties of your parent component inside the child, okay, so you can use it, okay. So we all know that I mean this particular very first line in the JS file is that LWC is a module which is I mean giving us the lightning element class. This lightning element class will be inherited by our parent sorry, by our component class. Okay. So I mean in case if we have some business requirement where we have to I mean make sure that our parent I mean the component class need to be I mean used in our I mean the child component. So this is the way we can use. Okay. All right. Okay. And then I mean we have seen the output here, which is proving that yes, super method actually works. So in case if somebody asks you what is it, what is the requirement of super method? So super method is I mean the is method which ensures that the parent class is properly initialized before the child class adds its own property, right? Now let me I mean show you sequence, the why I mean the reason why I the intentionally provided the the console log is to, so I mean the reason of providing this console log is to I mean just to show you that which constructor is I mean the invoking first. So as you can see here, that the parent component constructor fired first. Okay, because of this I mean we have the console log, and then I mean the console log of the child component. Okay. All right. So I mean this is something I mean the because everyone is talking about the super method we have to use, but how and why we are using this I mean the example proves that In the next episode, I am going to, the deep dive with the, the interview questions and the error, the common error which we see and why we are seeing this error. So stay tuned. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe the channel, show your love with a thumbs up, click on the like button, and share the, in your connection. We'll catch again in the next episode. Till then, revise every topic. If you have any doubt, if any question, the comment section is open. My contact details you will find in the channel description. And this code, which I have, wrote here, you will find the in a GitHub repository. The link of the GitHub repository will be available in the description of this video. Till then, take care of country, of yourself. Jai Hind.